All right. So this is what's going on in New York. The timeline of what's happening in New York. Before Donald J was going to win this election, New York, because all of this ties together. So New York is a blue state. Eric Adams, everyone thought he was a man of the people. I never trusted this Negro just because I used to hear him talk and it sounded good, but something was always off with him. And I think everybody's a suspect. So Mayor Eric Adams, he's in New York City. People think he's doing a wonderful job. Now, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, but we did a deep dive and we found out that all this was going on while he was one of the people. He's standing in solidarity with the Democratic Party when it comes to um, immigrants coming to his city. He's all right. So in the state of Texas, when they would put people on buses, they would ship them up to New York. They would ship them to DC. Remember, at one point, they even sent them to Kamala Harris's house. So Eric Adams is in New York City. He's the mayor. Oh, go ahead, bring the immigrants in. We're good for it. Yeah, that'll work. That's good. Bring them in. Why did he do that? Because Eric Adams, the city was promised $80 million to house migrants. NYC. Now there's conflicting stories, but it's 80 million. So when this started off, Mayor Adams, he was with the Democratic Party because they were like, hey, if you bring them to New York, we got this FEMA fund, we got this aid, we'll send it to New York. Now, behind the scenes, in hindsight, like I'm reaching both ends of the spectrum, we know that he was corrupt and he was doing some things with the Turks, but we're going to get to that. So, New York City, Eric Adams is, man, we're here for the migrants. We'll house them. We'll put them up in different places because the city was getting money. This is looking good. When the city gets money, it's not directly going to like the city. It's going to employees that are going to be where they're housing them and then different things around the city, giving them their little stipends, which people were saying, oh, they're giving them money. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But that money was going back into the community because they were buying shit, food and stuff. But he's with it. He's good. This is good, man. This is good for the city. It looks good. We're housing these migrants. We got a lot of money flowing in here. And it's looking like Biden is going to win the election. Now, things started to shift a little bit, and Donald Trump ended up winning the election. But while all of this was going on, there was some corruption going on behind the scenes, which is this corruption, where we found out that Eric Adams was letting buildings go through without passing the safety inspections because he was getting little kickbacks, first class flights. He was getting all kinds of things. So we did that, and he ended up getting indicted up under the Biden administration. Now, remember, the Biden administration was the one that was putting money in his pockets. But now the Biden administration is the one pursuing charges on him because they found out that Eric Adams was actually corrupt. And one of these ladies, that's what I was supposed to do an interview with. I was like, man, it really ain't worth it. Plus, I'm gonna hit her up now that we see what's going on. But anyway, we found out that Mayor Eric Adams ain't who Mayor Eric Adams said he is. He's actually taking money, he committing fraud behind the scenes. So he gets indicted up under Joe Biden. Fast forward, Trump wins the election. Now, Joe Biden are the ones pressing charge on. Well, it's not Joe Biden, but we're just saying up under his administration, the DOJ is the one pressing charges on him. So now Eric Adams, what does he need? He needs a pardon. So now he aligns himself with Donald J. Trump because he knows that Trump needs him to push the agenda to get the migrants out of New York because that's what his constituents, his supporters want to hear. So now Eric Adams, he's on trial for his federal charges. Trump tries to dismiss his case. Now, this case isn't getting dismissed because it's being held up by a judge because it doesn't look good if the plaintiff and the and the prosecutor if they're on the same side working together, because quid quo pro, Eric Adams, Trump, you get me out of here, I'll push your agenda in New York. The judge said, wait a minute. No, 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 no. We're not dismissing this case. So he put a third party to look over this. So now they got to argue why it's in favor for them to drop this case. And the third party person will go back to the judge and tell the judge, hey, Eric Adams, he didn't do something. Now, the third party member, he was appointed by Trump, but from what we know, he straight plays it by the book regardless. But basically, the prosecutors, they got to say, this is why we need to dismiss this case. And it's not because of Trump and it's not connected, because the judge already said, no, we're not doing that. So that leads us to where we are today. The case isn't dismissed, but Eric Adams not only took the bait from Trump to try to get the migrants out of New York City, he is now suing Donald Trump for the $80 million that Donald Trump stopped. But remember, he was in alignment with Donald Trump because he needed the pardon / dismissal. Now, it wasn't a pardon because he wasn't charged yet, but he needed the dismissal. So what Eric Adams is doing is trying to figure out any way he can get from up under this, but it's looking bad because what did he do in his last ditch effort? Eric Adams now sues Donald Trump, who tried to pause his case over the $80 million. And the reason he's doing this is because the case didn't get dismissed. So now he's like, well, hell, I need to get this money back to the city, but I promised Trump to stop all this immigration shit. So this thing is all over the place. And the judge, like I said, did not dismiss this case. He said, nope. No, 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 no. This sounds fishy. You're working with the prosecution, but you're the defendant. No, 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 no. We're not dismissing this. So now Eric Adams has put himself in a bind because since he's suing Trump's administration, guess what Trump is going to do? Instead of fighting to try to get this case dismissed, they're going to have to come up with something. So it's either Trump is going to get mad at Eric Adams because we know how he treats black folk, and he's going to go ahead and have his DOJ prosecute Eric Adams to the full extent of the law, or he's going to send Eric Adams some of that money, and they're just going to have to let this case go through and then either pardon him in the end or something of that nature. But one thing we know about Trump, he doesn't like to lose. So it looks like Eric Adams, you didn't flip-flop both sides. You in line with Biden and the Democrats to get all this money, but then you realize you were doing corrupt shit behind the scene. They went and prosecuted you. Now, it wasn't Biden. It was the prosecution, the DOJ. Now you didn't try to get with Trump, and you realize that he can't really get you out because he doesn't have the power he says he does. You turn around and sue him. So that's where we are today. Eric Adams sues Donald Trump over missing $80 million. In a surprise move, federal officials clawed back funds approved by Congress for immigration services, which they can't. The president doesn't have control over money. Congress does. And if it's already allotted, federal judges are going to let that pass. It just has to go through. Friday's suit marks a rare instant of public opposition to the Republican White House from a Democrat mayor who has gone to great lengths to avoid criticizing the president. New York City Mayor Adams filed a lawsuit Friday against President Trump and others in his administration over $80 million the White House removed from a city bank account without permission after Elon Musk threatened to withdraw on X. The clawback earlier this month, local officials instilled fear the Trump administration could wreak havoc on municipal purse of a Democratic city with a $115 billion budget. Now, we know Elon and Trump can't wait to get their filthy hands on state money. So the city has a $115 billion budget. Sheesh. And Eric Adams' crooked ass is in charge of it. Public opposition, Democrat criticizing the president as he saw Trump's assistance in his federal corruption case, which Trump's Justice Department has moved to dismiss. That dynamic has led to calls for Adams to be removed, prompted the resignation of top aides, and spurred Governor Cathy to propose legislative guardrails around the leadership this week. In its suit, the city is alleging Trump's team violated federal laws, grant terms and regulations when they reserved the transfer of $80.5 million that had already made its way into a city hall bank account. Congress approved the funds which were embarked for immigration services. Without a doubt, our immigration system is broken. But the cost of managing an international humanitarian crisis should not overwhelmingly fall onto the city alone, New York City Mayor Adams said in a statement. I mean, you got a $115 billion budget. That 80 million ain't really hurting too much. Plus, you getting money from the Turkish government. With very little help from a federal government or administrative has skillfully managed an unprecedented crisis. City attorneys are asking for the cash to be restored and for Trump administration to be enjoyed from a similar seizure going forward. Defendants have acted lawlessly, but have attempted after the fact to mask this fact with a semblance of following procedure. City Corruption Counsel Muriel Good Trufant wrote in a complaint filed in the federal court. Good alleges federal officials had no grounds to claw back the cash when they invoked a provision in the federal banking laws to reserve its payment. The funding was provided through an initiative called the Shelter and Service Program, SSP, run the Department of Homeland Security, ran by them. The statement could not be clear. Defendant's purpose of grabbing back the funds was not related to the city's specific expenditures at all, but that twarth the very the very purpose of the SSP. All right. So it's wild, man. It's all over the place, man. Is there any? Yeah, former Trump official alleged in a major case was dropped quid pro admission. Yeah, so basically the judge said, "Nah, we not we not letting up with that." So there y'all go, man. A little bit of Eric Adams and what he got going on. I hope that little breakdown was. I was trying to make it as short as possible so we didn't have to go back and get a full timeline of what the hell Eric's been doing. What up, Mozzie? So I mean, I don't know, man. It's a lot of corrupt stuff going on, and it's never ending. Every day I wake up is something else with Donald. What we got? I got a